Abhinav, it's great to have you again. And for people who are just joining us, this is part three of this video interview series. In part one, we have been speaking with Abhinav about his interview experience at ISB, from which he has already received an admit. In part two of this series, we spoke about NYU Stern, and on this part, we're going to speak about Michigan Ross School of Business. Right? And how did Abhinav interview there, and what was his experience like? So great, Abhinav. Could you quickly introduce yourself, and then we will jump into speaking about your interview experience.
Right. So I come from a media and communications background. I have more than 6 years of experience in the Indian media industry, working in Mumbai, and I'm looking at an MBA right now to transition into a corporate strategy role in the entertainment industry, or some other role as well that I might be interested in the future while I'm doing my MBA.
Alright, so Abhinav, if you could quickly give your impressions about Michigan Ross's style of interview. And they also have a team exercise component, so if you could comment on that as well. We'll
Right.
get into the details of both these aspects, but yeah, just overall impressions.
Right. So the team exercise is an optional one for us, but it is a definitely a recommended one. So for round one, I heard that they had the team exercise in Mumbai, but because I applied in round two, this time there was no team exercise in Mumbai, and if I needed to attend it, I would have had to travel to Beijing or Tokyo, one of those two places, and I really couldn't do that because of my engagements at work. So I skipped that exercise and I went straight for the interview.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, I think that pretty much covers it in a way. Yes, so you're right, and for people who are fretting about this, Michigan Ross does it several times. So they've had this team component exercise for several years now, and in round one, they gave the option to people to come and do that in different cities. So Bangalore had a location as well, and the thing is that if such exercises happen in India, and if you're an Indian applicant, then you should attend it. It's not optional in a way.
Right.
If you don't have option like Abhinav, then it's okay to skip, because not everyone can travel to Japan or some other exotic country to do these things. So it's perfectly okay. So Abhinav, we'll restrict ourselves to speaking about your interview experience. So,
Right.
so could you give your overall impressions about the interview?
Right. So the Ross interview was very relaxed. It wasn't a stress interview at all. Like other interviews that I have had, it was more about understanding me as a person and my motivations. So, in fact, the guy who interviewed me, he was a 2004 alum of the school, and he made it very clear to me in the first 2-3 minutes that this was not going to be a stress interview, that I can be totally relaxed about it, and he just wanted to know me better. So that was the agenda setting for the interview, so to say, was done in the first 2-3 minutes, and that really put me at ease. And even the question that he was asking me, during the interview, that it went on for about 35 to 40 minutes. It was very conversational, very exploratory, not as in asking me about specific things and just being interested in that, but he gave me a lot of opportunity to express myself and to tell my own story in my words as well.
Okay, so very, very conversational and broad range of questions were asked. So if you could quickly cover the broad brackets or the broad kind of questions that were asked, we can get into the details of those.
Right. So there were a lot of behavioral questions. So it started with my current role and my experience in the media industry, what all projects have I worked on, and what are the aspects of business that I handle, what have been my key achievements, what is that one occasion when I didn't do as well as I thought I should have, and what did I learn from it. So there was, I think, about 15 minutes was spent on a lot of behavioral questions around my current experience. Then the interviewer moved on to why Ross. So why an MBA at this stage in your life, and why Ross particularly. And so the second part of the interview was that. So that's where, and after that, the last 10 to 15 minutes, Sachat, it was totally conversational. It was about his own experience, and we had a very freewheeling conversation about what kind of a school is Ross, and what Ross has done for him, and what it means to study in the US in a top USB school, and his entire journey after graduating from Ross. So the last 10-15 minutes were totally, there was no pattern to it. It was like purely a conversation.
So I think one of the key insights or the key points about Michigan Ross is that they tend to ask behavioral questions. So that
Right.
is the key differentiator of Ross's
Right.
interview vis-a-vis other business schools.
Right.
So, for example, on the last part that we were speaking with you on in MYMBAJOURNEY, and there were very few behavioral questions. But when it comes to Ross, they will ask you a lot of behavioral questions.
Right.
If you're interviewing with Kellogg, again they will switch to speaking a lot about leadership and teamwork.
Right.
And Abhinav can also chip in a little bit. He's also interviewed with Kellogg, so he can share those insights with you. So,
Right.
yeah. Cool, perfect. So, in terms of why Michigan Ross, so I know about your background that you're from media and entertainment industry, and you've been applying to all these big schools in Houston, etc., which are based out of big cities. But Michigan Ross is not. So, how did you defend why Ross?
Right. So when I was doing my research for Ross, one of the things that stands out about the school is experiential learning, and one of the things that I did was to explain why I feel experiential learning is very important for me. So their experiential learning, aspect permeates all aspects of Ross. So it's not just the one thing that is called MAP that everyone knows about, which is basically like an internship for the internship. So that's something that Ross is most known for. So that is, of course, I mean, it's like the elephant in the room. I mean, if you go to a Ross interview and don't talk about MAP, even the interviewer, I guess, will find it strange. But the fact is that everyone talks about it. But so I also talked about the courses which had that experiential learning, woven into them. Then I also talked about how Ross has very good resources for my specific industry, even though it is not based in LA or New York, which are the media hubs. But still, the space that I want to enter, there is a lot of scope for that in Ross. There are many students interested in it, and that is something that I got out of the research that I did for Ross. Again, for Ross, I talked to something like 10 students, current students. So they told me that media tech is a growing interest area. Of course, that has not traditionally been a strength for Ross, but I got a lot of that into the conversation that I had with the interviewer. So I mean, one of the things that I really wanted to do was to show him that I'm really kicked about Ross. So I've talked to this person, he told me this. When I talked to that person, he told me this different aspect. That's why I feel that I can do this thing at Ross. So a lot of what do you call it? Random name calling that I did during the interview, just to show that I had done my research.
Absolutely. I think you brought in a very important point. There are several schools, for example, Tuck School of Business, Michigan Ross, which value a lot if you show that you have done adequate research on the school. And one of the best ways to do it is that if you speak about, like, you have interacted with a lot of alums, etc. So I think you have kind of hit the nail on the spot there, and that would definitely help you win more points. So perfect, Abhinav. So in terms of any broad questions that were asked, any broad area that you have missed so far speaking about?
Right. So I was saying, so the first 10 minutes were about behavioral questions. The second 10-minute spell would be around the why Ross and why MBA and stuff like that. But the last 10-15 minutes, like I was saying, I had a freewheeling conversation, and also it gave me again an opportunity to shine in front of the interviewer in a sense, to tell him what I am about. And in my case, I was very lucky that so he asked me about what is that one person that you look up to, and I said Gandhi, which is, I mean, a very difficult space to get into, because if you're saying that your role model is the man of the last century, then that is very slippery slope to be on. But I was very lucky because that person also had many associations with Gandhi and other Gandhi related work, and we connected a lot on that. So that can happen, that might not happen in an interview, but in my case, because I connected with the interviewer, the last 10-15 minutes where I just totally opened up. So that is something that definitely people can be prepared for. I mean, if you find that there is there is something that the interviewer is interested in, and if you also have an element in your own life which is similar to that, you should definitely mention that in the interview. If that's something genuine, then there's no harm in talking about it.
Perfect. So I think those are very useful tips, Abhinav. Now, speaking about any parting thoughts that you might want to share with applicants in general about interview strategy or application strategy, just for our viewers who haven't had a chance of viewing the other video so far. So Abhinav has received interview invites from a bunch of colleges. So I'll let Abhinav sort of narrate his story there. So any parting tips and just cover all these points. Yeah.
Right. The biggest tip I can give is there's no substitute for research. So the number of hours that you put in to finding more about the schools that you want to go to, the more it will benefit you in the application as well as the interview. So again, very different from the usual B school application that you would find in India, or when we, for other schools, in India, that these US B schools are looking at candidates who are really kicked about their school and who are really interested and have genuine interest and have done the research. They know what to expect. So if you go in with adequate research, it just positions you better in the application as well as the interview.
Alright, perfect, Abhinav. Thank you so much. And just last question: how was the experience working with us?
Oh, perfect. I had a great 6 months, 7 months with you, Akshat, and frankly, apart from the essay editing and the tips on the interview, just to have someone as experienced as you are, just as a sounding board when I'm sort of not feeling very sure about my own prospects and I have doubts, and everyone in the B school application journey has those days and has those moments, and to have someone like you who believed in me and who believes in me is very comforting, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure working with you as well, and as always, our association would continue. Always stay in touch with people. So feel free to reach out with any sort of problems that you're facing at business school or beyond. Okay?
Right.